UCLA will be with Ole Miss. So when you just look at these teams, what are you most excited for?
Oh, I'm excited to see how much can Ole Miss test UCLA. And it's funny because, I'm not against UCLA. I feel like after rooting for USC so hard throughout the season that I've just kind of like gravitated to challenging UCLA. And I know you're
I'm biased because they're in my bracket. I have them winning the whole thing.
Like, we don't want to ruin your bracket. We don't want to be that person. That's not a good teammate.
I think it's like $10 on the line, so like
That's
it's
true.
totally fine.
A little less coffee for the next 48 hours.
Yeah.
But it's just like you always want to see, again, one of the beauties of March Madness is just like the upset alerts and like the teams that can sneak into the mix. So taking on a Titan as UCLA at this juncture of March Madness, I really want to see how Ole Miss can test them. And one of the ways that I feel like they can kind of take advantage is there's some things they can pull from the USC wins throughout the season, but it's more so the fact that like they've come into matchups on fire in the rebound category. And if you're winning the rebound battle, then you're honestly making a contention to say we're the team that's going to have possession. We're going to minimize your ability to score. We're going to minimize your ability to grab those points. We're also going to frustrate the heck out of your leading scorers because if they don't have the ball, they can't be your leading scorers. And this is also on the other flip of the coin. If Ole Miss is winning the rebound battle, which means that they're kind of like managing possession more so, then what you're also doing is challenging UCLA on the defensive end of things. And I feel like that's where we've seen, like, yes, we've seen good defensive performances, but have we seen those like amazing stout defensive performances in comparison? Maybe not as much. So it's going to be interesting in the fact that I just want to see what the test can be here. Do I think UCLA still pulls away with it? Yeah. I don't want to piss off your bracket quite yet.
No, that's okay. You can come at it, but no, I like how you're focusing in on the rebounds because that's a controllable, right? Like that's a hustle play, and for some extent, like you can't shot, like, yes, like sometimes you're on, sometimes you're off, and that's a controllable in the sense of like, are you prepared, are you mentally locked in? But at the same time, the rebounds, like that gives you a second chance.
Yes.
Think about too, like the power that UCLA has with Lauren Betts. Like she's doing her job in getting those rebounds, but it's also up to the other girls around her to box out their girls so that it's not Lauren versus 5 other people, right? In this game against Richmond, Lauren Betts had like 3 Richmond girls on her at all times. That was their game plan, to swarm her and disrupt her. She still literally was almost perfect for shooting in the first half, which is incredible. That's why she's one of the best players in the country. But rebounds are going to be huge, especially when you get into really close games and you need possession, and you just want to be able to control the clock as well, right? And so I think you're right. I think that Ole Miss will be able to put up a good fight, but if UCLA can really bring their defensive side and not only rely on their incredible shooting, hitting Lauren Betts, you really need those second chances, and that's what throughout my college career, my coaches always talked about: win the 50-50 balls. Like you need to have the ball that's on the ground. I mean, we would do drills that were solely just 50-50 ball. Who's gonna want it more? Who's gonna fight for the ball more? And that's what you see. Like this is March Madness. This is the Sweet 16. You need to be on the ground, on your knees, fighting for the ball. Try to get the jump ball, and those rebounds too. Like. You don't want to foul, obviously, and that's where it gets difficult when you have someone like Lauren Betts who's so tall, and it gets tricky in there. But I think you're so right with the rebounding because that is a huge part of it. And like you said, that gave UCLA the opportunity to go up so much in their third quarter. They come out strong. They hit a 3-pointer. Then Lauren Betts gets an and one. Like just the momentum that rebounds can give your team is so powerful.
Yeah, because you kind of got to be gritty about it, right? And I'm glad that you mentioned Betts' size and just to be cautious in terms of like, okay, get these rebounds, but don't be undisciplined about it, because what you can do against opponents, especially someone like Lauren Betts who has the frame that she has, is like you can force mistakes. You can force her to be the one or almost draw those penalties. You know what I mean? You can draw those fouls in favor of what you need at the moment. But that's what I think will be fun for Ole Miss. I think they can kind of jeopardize UCLA's plan and see what'll take place, because one of the USC wins versus UCLA, Lauren Betts still had a fantastic game, but it was the margin and the drop off between her and the next player to step up. And then that's where you can kind of create some errors in UCLA's game. So like I said, Ole Miss kind of has enough of the foundation to replicate some of the things that USC did so well against UCLA to collect those wins. But this is what makes it fun.
Yeah, and I think another advantage too, when you just look at how each game played out, right? Like UCLA had a really tough game, and those starters were going back and forth with Richmond until the third quarter.
True.
And then they could kind of ease off, and some of them got taken out in the fourth quarter, whereas Ole Miss had a very tight game with Baylor. Right and up till the end, they won 69-63. Those starters were in the entire game.
Right.
Those girls were playing so hard, right? And so now you have that smaller window, even though you have days before the Sweet 16, and you'll probably get to go home and regroup and all the things, but it does wear and tear on your body. And so having those bigger gaps in the end of your game, as much as it's like, yes, we just gave more space, we weren't as nervous that it wasn't going to be a tight game, it just helps you recover faster because you're not putting that stress, that mental stress, but also that physical stress on your best players.
Yeah, that's actually a good point out. I didn't think about the management and time management on the court. That's definitely an advantage that UCLA will have. And we'll see if that fatigue plays into Ole Miss's game when things get rolling.
No, I love it. And I'm blanking on what game it was, but I saw one of the coaches, and I cannot remember what it was, but there was like 2 seconds left in the game. I've watched like every March Madness game, so that's why. But one of the coaches realized, okay, we have literally 2 seconds left in the game, and we know that we're going to win. And she sprinted to the end of the bench, grabbed one of her players, threw her in the game just so she could like be that last person to hold the ball. But I just love that because it just like showed the coach's awareness, like, hey, I want to get my girl in to experience like March Madness for like those last 2 seconds. And I'm blanking on what the team was, but I feel like that's kind of been the general consensus. I've seen a lot of that, which has been cool, is like quickly getting in some of these players, you know, and then you'll get your stories of people who walked on, was the manager, all the things. I know there was someone in the men's tournament that was doing that, but I think that's also an exciting part of when you do get to get up and you do get to have that space in the tournament, because yes, it allows for your best players to take a break and get a breather, but then you see the kids who might not have never gotten into a March Madness tournament, let alone a conference tournament or a regular season game, you know, and then they get to have that moment on such a big stage. It's really cool.
It's almost like thinking ahead in a sense, because, you know, if you give somebody at least 5 seconds in like that vacuum sealed energy and adrenaline, come the next opportunity that has that level of energy to it, the magnitude of what that means, the nerves are probably already kind of like off the back, because you can at least pinpoint 5 seconds where you felt that, because you're just sitting there
a little bit.
Yeah, you're just sitting there like building up to it. Then your coach gives you the nod, and then you're like, oh, because in that moment when you're trusted to step onto a court or trusted to step in any kind of game situation, that's when you already put your mind at ease. So like come the next moment, like that's probably a good tactic, and that's why coaches get the jobs that they do, because they're always thinking ahead, even though they have to be so present in the moment.
Yeah, they got a lot on their mind. So there's got to be some help behind the scenes, because I could not know
do it.
how they do it, especially in such a heated game like that. But